Good afternoon. Myself, Nitin, speech language pathologist of Pinnacle Blooms Network, Suchitra Part 2. She is Purnima, special educator from Suchitra Part 2. So, today I would like to say about autism and virtual autism. So, moving on to the word autism, hope everybody knows what is. So, the word autism has been coined in the year 1943, which was like this disorder or this behavioral condition has been there from 1940s. But now, in 2022, if you take the statistics, it is like 1 in 10. Before it was 1 in 1,000. So now it has been increased. Soon after the pandemic, the children are getting so affected with autism. Majority of the children is getting affected because of virtual autism. They are getting diagnosed as virtual autism because they are being provided with TV and phones maximum number of time. In a day, more than 8 hours, a child is being given the tablets or androids to see. Moving on to the definition of autism. Autism is a group of developmental disorder characterized by impaired social interaction, poor speech, non-verbal communication, and repetitive behaviors. There are subtle early signs which are presently most in combination. Seek professional help if you feel your child is showing any of these signs. Most importantly, early sign is lack of understanding gestures and ability to do so. Sorry. So the other signs include like preference to play alone. That the child will be always preferring to play alone. Alone is like self-play in a home or in a school environment or in a public party scenarios. The child will be pretending to play alone only. He won't be mingling with the other kids or with any of the adults as well. So the play will be with the one particular toy or whatever is being provided. The child will be playing with that in a corner or apart from the gathering. The second will be lack of pretend play. Normally the regular kids will be playing, pretending to play like as a doctor or feeding the baby doll, etc. For with kids with autism, symptoms of autism, they won't be showing the pretend play. Sensory issues. It can be present or it may not be present. It depends upon the kid. So sensory issues is like there are many sensory issues like auditory issues, tactile, vestibular, vision seeking, etc. So for example, tactile issues will be like the child will be seeking touch. That is one form of tactile sensory issue. The other form is like they will be keeping on rubbing off or they will be staring on the fingers that is very close to the eyes. So all these are tactile issues. Along with that, if they are eating rice, so sticky particles like glue, rice or anything, they won't be allowing to be in the hand for a while. So they'll be cleaning as soon as it is there in their hand. Auditory issues is like when they hear loud sounds like pressure cooker whistle or crackers bursting, they will be covering the ears because they cannot tolerate the amount of sound. The next will be vestibular issues. Vestibular issues is like the child will be moving back and forth. Back and forth is like they will be moving like this when they are sitting simply without any activity. So the sitting tolerance will be there, but they wanted to move. That is vestibular issues. So so many of them are there, like sensory issues are there, not moving much on it. Then the next will be repetitive behaviors. Repetitive behaviors is hand flapping. The child will be flapping the hands continuously if he gets excited or if he sits simply. Other than hand flapping, hand tapping is also there. They will be tapping on the table whenever they get excited or if they wanted to communicate also. If the child is non-verbal, they will be showing all those repetitive behaviors to convey the parents or the caretakers that they wanted something. The next most evident symptom is speech delay. Even after 3 years also, the child won't be having speech. So the parents like they would be communicating with the other parents or the family members like my child is 3-year-old and he or she is not communicating. So in that scenario, the parents or the grandparents might tell them that it's okay, it's just normal, only his father also took some time. But in nowadays, should not be considered like that. The child should be treated as early as possible. The critical age period of the child development is, language development is still 5 years, where we have to get the treatment as soon as it is being diagnosed. So with these symptoms, and if speech delay is there, like after the age of 1 also the child is not uttering a word, word, it has to be considered. Like soon, the child should be taken to the professionals and has to be diagnosed whether he or she is autistic or not. The professionals like pediatricians, psychologists, speech pathologists, occupational therapists will be able to diagnose the child whether he is autistic or not. So they will consider the DSM criteria, Diagnostic Statistic Manual of Mental Disorder, produced by American Psychiatric Association, edition 5. They will be following the criteria over there and then they will be doing it. Speech pathologist also, along with DSM, they will be considering the screening test. Screening test as well as diagnostic test. In screening test, it will be questionnaires that will be given to the parents regarding the symptoms and conditions of the child, where they have to tick or answer yes or no. From that screening test, we will get an idea of what is the level of the child. If the child is showing the symptoms of autism from that, the professionals will be moving on to the diagnostic test like MCHAT, CAS, etc. So the screening can be done at 1.5 years of age or 1.5 to 2 years of age. It should not be more than that. If it is more than that, then screening cannot be done. Directly the diagnostic has to be done and confirmed whether it is at autism or not. Okay. Some kids likes to follow a routine. So the routine will be like their regular routine, like soon after getting up, they have to get brushed, then they will be served with tea or milk, then for the breakfast, and after that they might be taking bath. But if somebody, like if the parents are not there or somebody else is taking care of the kid and this routine is being changed, they will become cranky. So they will be like hyper for the entire day because the starting itself has been ruined because their routine have been changed. So some will be like they doesn't like to change the routine. All this routine changing issues will be done by treated by the behavioral therapist, where they follow the criteria for making them adapt to the changes. So some will be with the routine, some will be the posture they sit, some will be like wearing the clothes. So all these behavioral things will be dealt by the behavioral therapist, where they follow their way of treatment plan and will be implemented on the kid, and then the improvement can be seen. Repetitive behaviors like, as I've told, fan flapping and all, along with that switching off light and switching on and off the light switch will also be there. Because that is like the light going off and on is like visual seeking for them. So that will also be considered as a symptom of autism. Moving on to virtual autism. Virtual autism is like, I've already given a brief idea. Here it is like excessive of screen exposure is making the child virtually autistic. So in the age, like from the age of 1 to 3, the child, like during the pandemic time, if we consider, the parents as like they have work from home and the child has to be taken care as well. So nobody from outside was also not allowed to come. So what they have done is like, according to the experience that we have, what they did is like they will provide the androids and make the child to sit and watch the YouTube. So what happens in the time is like the child is not getting an idea that they have to talk outside or they have to communicate for their needs to be conveyed or satisfied. So they will be fully into the YouTube this thing. They will be trying to imitate the things that they are seeing from the androids. They will be continuously telling the rhymes that they are seeing or the dialogues of the cartoons that they are watching. Other than that, they doesn't know to communicate for the needs. That is like, I want water, I want food, I want to go out. Likewise, the normal communication that we doesn't happen for them because they are not getting adequate stimulation at home. So being exposure to this has to be reduced. So in virtual autism also, the symptoms will be like lack of socialization, attention, language, emotional regulation and behavior. So all this comes in symptoms as well. So the autistic symptoms will be there. Will be the same for visual autistic as well. That is why it is like visual autism. And the best part of this is like it can be reversed. Like the children which are early diagnosed as visual autistics can be considered as normal soon after the treatment. That is within this particular age period, that is 1 to 3 age group. If the child is able to get adequate treatment, that is early intervention within that age, then he will be able to come back to the normal this thing. So many people that screen viewing, that is can change genetic, can exposure to screen can change genetic makeup of the child. Exactly, it is yes, that the question is right, because it doesn't. Exposure to screen doesn't change the genetic this of the child, but it can cause changes in the physiological condition of the child. That is how I'll explain. Increased screen time is associated with a drastic decrease in levels of melanospin, expressing neurons, dopamine and GABA neurotransmitter, causing abrupt behavior and decreased cognition and delay in language development. So that is how it is. So how it is reversible is like, as I've already told, that it has to be considered and treated well in the early time. That is before 3 years. If it is done, the intervention is being given, then the child can be treated, considered as normal. That is, adequate stimulation at the right age, as well as stopping of screen exposure has to be implemented. Then only it can be, like child can be brought back to the normal day.
So the first question is, will virtual autism be cured?
Exactly. I have already mentioned before that it can be cured, and how it is like, stop all the screens. That is, exposure to the screens has to be stopped, like it's fully stopped. Like initially it will be difficult only. It will be like exposure of screen is for 8 hours. It will be difficult for reducing the screen time as well. But what can be done is like reduce the screen time. Like suddenly putting it, switching off it is difficult. So because the child might be cranky and all, so managing it will be difficult. So what can be done is reduce the screen time. That is, the 8 hours to be has to be reduced to 4. Like not without taking much time, has to be reduced to 4 and then to 2 and then shut off. So it is like some parents will be like they have reduced, but only for feeding time they are providing this phone or tablets. So what happens that time is like, I'll give an example, like before in our childhood and all, the grandparents or the father or mother will be feeding the child by showing the vehicles outside or the birds outside or the things at home and all. So the child is seeing us, giving an eye contact to what the person is telling. Along with that, he or she is understanding how the word has to be produced. So likewise, he or she is getting stimulated at home. But nowadays, with the screen, like with the tablets or Android, the child is not even looking to the mother's or father's face. So what happens is that they are not getting the idea of how to produce speech or how to produce a sound. So until and unless the child gets an idea, like when I press the lips, per sound is coming, or when I press and hum, it is mer sound is coming, or when I press the tongue, the sound is coming. So this idea is not getting because of the lack of eye contact. Because of the screen time, the child is more focused on the screen. And when the feeding also just happens in that fast manner only. It's not like the parent is having a conversation with the child and the child is not getting an eye contact, so the child is not able to speak.
The next question is, will the children with virtual autism can be like normal children after using the techniques?
Definitely. If the symptoms of the child is not to that moderate severe level, definitely it can be cured and treated back as normal. But I have already mentioned early intervention is a must take, which has to be considered. Early, if the child is intervened properly at the right age, then you can take them, bring back them to the normal age, normal.
What are the symptoms of virtual autism?
Virtual autism symptoms I have already mentioned. It is the same as autistic symptoms only, but the severity will be less. Because the main symptoms will be lack of socialization, lack of play, because they are trained like that. Giving a tablet and making the child sit for continuously for an hour. They know to swipe, they know to on the phone, everything, because they are watching that. But how they can communicate? Because they doesn't know how to communicate, because they are not learning that, because nobody is showing that. But they know how to operate a tab. So the thing is, they lack communication. They will be having play, like lack of play behaviors as well. So these are the main criteria that we can see in a virtual autistics, and also the other stereotypic behaviors can also be there, because if he doesn't provide the screen, they will be showing the tantrums through this, because he doesn't know to communicate through verbal speech. Okay. So I was telling like how can they help them. So first one was what I told is like stop all the screens, and the next one is like interact with the child. As I've told, give them eye contact, make them see into your eyes, and then make them understand this is how we speak, this is how we produce words and communicate. Or even we can pretend play, like the father and mother, like in a day if they are working also, you have to spend some time with the kids. So in that time they can pretend the play, telling that if I want something, I have to ask daddy. So mommy is asking the daddy that so and so. The child have to look and learn from that. So pretend play will also be improving the child's condition. After that, if you can make a daily schedule for the child for play activities rather than giving the screen, if you can put a timetable for the play activities, it will be better. Like if you are busy, but grandparents or a caretaker can be with the child, you can set a timetable for the child, like morning from 9 to 10, the child will be doing some swimming activities or something. Or after that, lunchtime, after that, homework time or puzzle time. Likewise, if you can set a timetable, the child will be following the routine. So rather than watching the screens, he will be doing all the play activities, and this he might share this play with the other kids as well. So it will be good.
So there is one question. What are the causes of virtual autism other than this?
I have already mentioned the causes. Virtual is like from the word itself it's understood that virtual is because of the screen exposure. Excessive screen exposure causes virtual autism. And the next thing that how we can help them is put them in a play group where they can socialize with the peers of their own age. That is like if you can take the child to the park somewhere nearby, or any school like play school or somewhere where they will get the chances of interacting with other kids. If the child is not interacting also, but the other kids can come and call him or her and take them to the play activities where what they are doing. Like if it is, for example, in a park, if the child is going for slide or if the child is standing simply, some of the other kids might call them. So call him, and while going on to the slide, he might get excited. He will follow the same pattern what others are also doing. That is like he has to go in a line, he has to climb the slide, he has to go down. So all these things can be done by checking with the other kids. So it is like copying mechanism will be happening there, where he learns to do what others are trying to do also. So it can be good as well as bad also. Some bad behaviors or the negative things can also be learned in that way. But if you can encourage the good things that the child is copying, that will be good. The good reinforcement, the positive reinforcement will work on that. Always prevention is better than cure. So it is like the total summary of this is like no screen time for babies below 2 years of age. So as I have mentioned, 1 to 3 will be the critical time where early intervention has to be started. So it is better not to provide screen time below the 2 years of age kids. And for 2 to 5 years, avoid as much as possible, because it is advised that not to give more than 1 hour a day. 1 hour is also, if you can reduce that much, it will be more helpful. For older ones, establish clear-cut rules about the duration and conduct. That is the kids who have good understanding level and good following commands then you can give that only for 1 hour you have to use it and give it back, or only for 30 minutes, that's it, then go do homework. Then it is good. Like they will be taking that as a positive reinforcement. Like if you do the activity, you will be getting 30 minutes of phone. If you do this, then you will be getting 20 minutes. But what we have to make sure is like the duration should be less. They should not get addicted again. Offer rewards when child follows the schedule. Also, encourage physical outdoor activities like playing in the park, as I have mentioned before, or an outdoor game at least 1 hour a day. No screens before bedtime and during meals. As I have already told, bedtime also I am including in that, because before bedtime, if it becomes a habit, the child won't sleep until and unless you provide the screen. So it is better to read a story rather than providing the screen. Talk with the child, make them understand the story, ask questions in between, and then you can put them to bed. And during meals also, try to simulate more about the meal itself, like what you are eating. This is breakfast. what is the food, what time is it we are having. All those questions can stimulate the child even more better. Give screen on a fixed schedule rather than on demand for kids. Avoid watching screens in front of the baby. That is, we also should reduce the usage of phone in front of the kids. So if we are using, the child will definitely ask the question that if mummy can use, why shouldn't I? So it is like we also should control the use, or we should be reducing it, and or make them understand only for work purpose mummy is using, not for seeing other things. If the child can understand that, that will be better. Or else when you are with the child, completely be mingling with the child, and then you can make the child sit with somebody else, and then you can go for the work. But in front of the child, if you could reduce the screen time, it will be helpful. Always prefer shows with natural background and muted color tones. That is like, it should not be attracted to the child. That is, if some colors they might get attracted, some sounds they will be irritating for the child. So all these things, if it is controlled, like if that is about the TV. If you're sitting and watching the TV, the child should not be disturbed. If it is a polite and calm thing, okay, for a while you can continue. And violent shows, dubbed shows, imitating and all should not be done, because they will imitate the same thing. The content that we are watching should be having a good story, like a moral. If you can play a story in the TV and everybody of the family, like the father, mother and the kid, can sit together and watch, it would be helpful, because there will be a moral. The child will understand the story with picturization. So that can be enhanced, where the mother can ask the questions or the father can ask the questions regarding the story that the child has watched. So you will also come to know that what level the child understood the thing. So that will be good for this also. And if the child is showing any behavioral issues, the virtual autistic child is showing any behavioral issues, that is only when the screen is not being provided. That is why I have already mentioned that the screen timing should not be shut down at the very right moment that you come to know that it should not be given. So soon after the diagnosis, or soon like you go to the professional and they are telling that to reduce the screen time, 8 hours cannot be done like that. So what you have to do is slowly reduce it. So if you are not following that command, the child will be showing some behavioral issues. The behavioral issues may contain like body movements, hand movements, crying or laughing unnecessarily, become angry for unknown reasons. So all these are there for the autistic kids also. But if we trigger them, if we trigger the autistic kid, then only the behaviors are coming like this. So they will be like rumination disorder will also be there. That is like nothing. They will be purposefully, the food will be coming back without digesting. Whatever we are feeding them, before digesting only, they might purposefully vomit it back also, because they are showing the tantrums in that way. Like forcefully, if we make them eat, what happens? The normal child also will spit it out. They also does the same, because they do it because of showing the tantrums that they are not providing the screen for them, because they wanted it and you are not providing it. That is why they are doing purposefully. So all these behaviors can be, so what I was about to say is, all these behaviors can be treated when slowly and giving some time to the kid to get adapted to this, then it can be easily recovered. So every kid is individually unique. So what is like we cannot predict that this can be cured within 1 month of time, or 2 months of time, or 3 months of time. It is like depending upon the child. So what has to be done is like give some time to the child. If you start the therapy, the rehabilitation process takes some time. So to change the behaviors, to change the sensory issues, to build up speech, it takes time. So for 1 hour of therapy is not going to work on that. So what we have to do is make sure that the child is getting adequate stimulation at home as well. Whatever happens, at least minimum of 1 to 2 hours, sit with the child, talk to the child, give more of stimulation. The behavioral therapist or the occupational therapist will be giving more points to improve the eye contact at home as well. Maintain the same at home, where you can improve the eye contact, make the child see your face, make the child understand what you are talking. So all these techniques that the therapist give you has to be implemented at home. That is not only with the mother or father, the entire people in the house has to do it, because the child is not only speaking with the father or mother. The child will be exposed to the grandparents, the cousins or the relatives at home as well. So the techniques, if you can implement everywhere, or the people who is more available with the child can be can do with the techniques. So as I've told, all the main techniques that has been done till now, like I've told you to stop the screen time, put a routine, interact more with the child, and put them in a play group. All these have to be carried out if your child is having, if you suspect, seeing this, if you suspect that the child is having some issues. Implement these in their daily routine, and also along with that seek professional help as well.
Okay. Can severe autistic kids be normal?
Pure autistic kids, to be frank, it is difficult. Why? Because the severity can be reduced. Like for severe autistic kids, the main thing is like the severe hyperactivity, severe of repetitive behaviors, and all. And if speech is there, depending upon the age also, age is a factor as well. So in severity wise, we can reduce the severity to a level, but making them normal will be difficult. But if the age is like around 3 to 3 years or 4 years, we can try our best, because if the child is putting so much of effort and the parents are putting so much of effort also, it can be. But if it is severe, I am not promising you that we can make it normal. But if it is mild, definitely we can, because I have experiences in treating the mild autistic kids, but not with severe. So for severe autistic kids, the severity can be reduced.
My kid not mingling with other kids freely, how much time it will take to socialization?
Okay, so okay. So, ma'am, I have already mentioned that the child is lacking socialization because he is not getting adapted or getting exposed to that socialization. So, what you can do is like implement more, like expose him to the gatherings, make him talk, push him forward to talk or say hi. Say hi first. Initially, if you give plenty of questions to the child, he will be like, won't be doing it. So, what you can do is like, you can slowly make the child interact with others by telling hi, just hi. Hi or a shake hand will be fine. Slowly, slowly he will be mingling with the others as well. If you can find somebody more comfortable with him, that is his cousin or brother or anybody, make them stand with them and make them to give the commands so that he can follow it, and he'll be like, okay, people are there with me, I can talk. If it is because of fear, he will be getting that confidence. If it is because of lack of stimulation, as I have told, give him more stimulation. Give him commands to say hi and come. Or just model saying hi. That's it. So you can improve the socialization in that.
What kind of diet can be suggested to hyperactive and autism kids?
Usually, hyperactive kids and autism kids, we provide the diet plan like to reduce the chocolates, sweet items, and dairy products as well. But nowadays, it's being seen that not only the sweet item is triggering the child, it can be anything, some fruits also. So, for example, like with my experience, I had a child who gets hyper when she eats banana. So it's not only with the sweets. She can have sweets because she is not getting hyper when she is having sweets. So only when she has banana, she is becoming hyper and doing all the cranky behaviors. So it is depends upon the meal that you are providing. So what we have to do is like we have to find it out what is triggering. Some kids get triggered with watermelon juice. So we will have to sit and find out what is triggering them. Then we have to avoid that. Or else, if the child is normally going now, continue the same way. Don't introduce anything new to the routine. That will be better.
How can we find out what caused the child's autism? Cause of the autism.
Cause of the
How
autism
to
is
find that?
still getting researched actually. That is like because of the neural thing or the neurotransmitters, it is not yet found out. That is why in the presentation also I didn't mention the cause, because still it is getting researched.
What all therapy we can give to that child?
Can give to that kid means virtual autistic kid or autistic. Okay, I'll say both. For autistic kids, we can provide depending upon the symptoms. That if the child is having sensory issues and child is not independent enough to even do a brushing or button in the shirts, then definitely the child needs occupational therapy. If the child has behavioral issues like showing tantrums, throwing the things, biting herself or himself, and so like doesn't know how to behave in a gathering and all, then they need behavioral therapy. And obviously, with the speech, if the child is not at all talking or if the child is not able to communicate, definitely speech therapy as well.
Milk and milk products are a basic food to a child. How can we stop that?
Milk and milk products is basic food only, I understand. But if that is triggering, as I've mentioned, individually, if we see the each product will be triggering the child in different ways. So we have to find out what is making them hyper, and then we can exclude that particular food product from the diet. I mean, from the food. So if the milk and milk products is not triggering the child, you can still give it. If it is triggering, you can shift. Like for the protein things, you can give green gram as well, and boiled eggs as well. So instead of milk, you can give compensatory food items for that.
That's it.